Every single day, we're urged to go faster, to do more, to consume endlessly. But what if the deepest calm, the most profound sense of presence, wasn't found in grand escapes, but in the slow, rhythmic dance of simple, repetitive tasks? What if true peace was hidden, not in the chaos of battle, but in the quiet, unsung labor of hands devoted entirely to the subtle gleam of metal, the smooth grain of wood? Welcome, seeker of forgotten calm. Today we step far away from the clamor of conflict and the roar of heroic tales. We venture into the quiet corner of a medieval armory to witness something often overlooked, the unhurried. It's almost meditative process of meticulously maintaining the very shields that would guard lives. And I promise you, by the end of this journey, you will never look at dedication, or indeed, the simple act of slowing down the same way again. If you find yourself drawn to the quiet beauty of forgotten crafts and the profound peace they can offer, then consider hitting that subscribe button. We unearth hidden stories of artistry and tranquility like this every single week, and you won't want to miss our next discovery. So, settle in. Let's begin our quiet observation. We settle now into the quiet of the armory, a place where the scent of aged wood, cold iron, and beeswax hangs perpetually in the air. The light here is often muted, softened by grimy windows or filtering in from anapen doorway, painting long dusty shafts across the stone floor. It is not a place of hurried movement or loud pronouncements, but one of patient, diligent care. Here, amidst racks of spears and rows of helmets, rests the subject off our attention. The medieval shield. Imagine a craftsman, their hands calloused and wise, moving with an unhurried grace. Their eyes, accustomed to discerning the subtle language of materials, scan the array of waiting shields. Each one bears the silent testament of its purpose, its journey. There is no urgency in their selection, but rather a thoughtful consideration. It's almost a quiet dialogue between the artisan and the object. Today, one particular shield calls to them, perhaps pulled from a recent campaign, or simply due for its routine renewal. The shield is lifted with practiced ease. Notice the way the craftsman cradles it, a sense of respect inherent in the gesture. There is an immediate, almost instinctive assessment of its weight, its balance. Is it heavier than expected, suggesting waterlogged wood or a buildup of grime? Is it surprisingly light, hinting at a weakened structure? This first interaction is purely tactile, a preliminary whisper between hands and wood, between fingers and metal. The feel of the surface, perhaps rough with dried mud or smooth, where countless hands have gripped it, begins to tell its tale. Once settled on a sturdy workbench, or perhaps held upright against a padded support, the true initial inspection begins. This is not a cursory glance, but a deep, meditative engagement. The craftsman steps back, allowing their gaze to sweep over the entire surface, absorbing the shield as a complete entity. They are looking for the overall narrative, the general posture of the shield. Does it sit squarely, or is there a subtle warp to its form, a slight twist that speaks of damp storage or prolonged exposure to heat? Are there obvious gaping wounds, deep gouges from an axe, or significant splintering where our spear might have struck home? This macroscopic view provides the fundamental context, setting the stage for the intimate examination that follows. Then, the focus narrows. The craftsman leans in, their eyes becoming instruments of precise observation. Every inch off shield's face, its edges, and its hidden reverse side is brought under scrutiny. The wooden body, often crafted from robust planks of lime, oak, or poplar, is the foundation. They search for the faint spider webs of stress cracks, not just superficial ones, but those that might extend deep into the grain, threatening the shield's structural integrity. Are there signs of rot, dark discoloration, or a softening of the wood that suggests prolonged exposure to moisture? Perhaps small holes, the telltale signature of wood-boring insects, indicating a more insidious, unseen enemy at work within the very heart of the shield. Each subtle imperfection is noted, catalogued in the mind as part of the meticulous restoration plan. Next, the gaze drifts to the shield's most prominent feature, the boss. This convex, often iron dome serves to deflect blows and protect the wielder's hand. The craftsman runs a gloved hand over its cold, smooth surface, feeling for any deep indentations or sharp edges that could indicate a severe impact. Are the rivets that secure it to the wooden body still tight and true? Or have they loosened over time, creating a subtle wobble that could compromise boss's effectiveness in battle? Rust is a common enemy here, blooming in orange patches, often concealing deeper pitting or weakening of the metal. The craftsman observes its extent, mentally estimating the effort required to meticulously remove it without damaging the underlying metal. The edges of the shield are then carefully examined. These were often reinforced with raw hide, leather, or even a thin band of metal, serving as both a protective bumper and a binding agent to prevent the wood from splitting. The craftsman feels along this rim, checking for fraying leather, torn rawhide, or bent, sharp metal. A compromised edge can lead to the delamination of the shield's wooden layers or allow moisture to penetrate, hastening its decay. Each tear, each worn patch, each loose fastening tells a story of impact and erosion, guiding the craftsman's hand toward the necessary repairs. But a shield is more than its outer shell. The reverse side, where the wielder's hand grips and arm rests, is equally, if not more, critical. This area, often overlooked in depictions, is where the true connection between warrior and defense lies. The straps and grip, usually made of toughened leather or cementum-strine-first wood, are subject to immense strain. The craftsman pays particular attention here, running fingers along the leather, assessing its pliability. Has it become dry and brittle, prone to cracking? Are there signs of deep cuts or tears that could give way under the stress of battle? Are the buckles, if present, still secure and functional? The rivets that attach these straps to the shield's body are individually checked, each one pressed and wiggled to ensure it holds fast. A loose strap could mean a lost shield, and potentially a lost life in the heat of combat. The wooden grip itself, sometimes carved to fit the hand, is examined for splinters or breaks, ensuring a firm, comfortable hold. Finally, the decorative elements, the painted designs, the heraldic symbols, the rich colors that once proclaimed lineage or allegiance are given their due attention. The craftsman's eyes trace the faded lines, observing where the paint has flaked or chipped away. Are there areas where moisture has caused the pigment to bloom or run? Are there layers of grime obscuring the original vibrancy? This is not just about aesthetics. These symbols often held profound meaning. Their preservation was an act of respect. Fourth shield's history and the warrior who bore it. The craftsman understands that restoring these details is akin to retelling a part of the shield's silent, storied past. This initial inspection is more than a diagnostic process. It is an act of deep empathy. Each scratch, each dent, each faded patch tells a fragment of a story. This shield might have withstood the thunderous charge of a cavalry, its face marked by hooves or the glancing blow of a mace. Perhaps it deflected the lethal arc of an arrow, leaving a lasting scar near its edge. The craftsman sees not just damage, but the echoes of conflict, the silent bravery embodied in the very material. They understand that before any polishing can begin, before any repair can be made, one must truly listen to what the object has to say. It is in this patient, thorough examination that the foundation for all subsequent work is laid. Without this deep understanding, any attempt at restoration would be mere surface-level effort, lacking the respect and precision that such a vital piece of equipment demands. The quiet observation of the initial inspection isn't about rushing to fix, but about understanding what truly needs attention, and planning's gentle, deliberate path forward. It is the first, essential step in the slow polishing, a testament to the fact that true care always begins with truly seeing. The initial inspection, a quiet, contemplative dialogue between the craftsman and the artifact, has now concluded. The shield's secrets have been whispered, its wounds identified, its history felt. With this profound understanding, the next phase begins. The meticulous, almost reverent act of cleaning. This is not a rushed scrub, but a gradual unveiling, a patient removal of the layers of time and neglect that obscure the shield's true essence. It is the first tangible step in its low return to dignity. Imagine the workroom, quiet save for the gentle rustle of brushes or the soft whisper of a cloth. The air might carry a faint scent of old wood, dust, and the promise of renewal. The craftsman approaches the shield, now resting securely on a padded workbench with a renewed sense of purpose. Every movement is deliberate, every tool chosen with precision. The very first step, universally applied, is the removal of superficial dust and loose debris. This often begins with a soft, natural bristle brush, perhaps made from horsehair or a fine goat's hair, chosen for its unparalleled gentleness. With feathery strokes, the craftsman sweeps across the shield's broad face, coaxing away the fine particles that have settled for decades, perhaps centuries. Dust motes, caught in the light, dance briefly before disappearing. This isn't about brute force. It's about persuasion. The bristles stare guided along the grain of the wood, into the shallow depressions of the surface, around the edges of any metal fittings. The goal is to lift, not to embed. Sometimes, for more ingrained dust and intricate carvings or tight corners, a small, soft-bristled artist's brush, or even a specialized conservation vacuum cleaner with very low suction and a tiny nozzle might be employed. The craftsman's ear is attuned to the faint scraping sound that indicates friction, immediately adjusting pressure or changing direction. There is an instinctive dance between the hand and the material, an unspoken agreement to cause no harm. This preliminary dusting is like dusting an ancient treasured book. You remove the superficial layer, treat the pages and the stories within with the utmost respect. Once the loose dust is gone, the real work of cleaning begins, segmented by the diverse materials that compose the shield. Each element, wood, metal, leather, and painted surface, demands its own unique approach, its own specific chemistry, and its own measured patience. Medieval shields were predominantly crafted from sturdy, yet relatively, woods like oak, lime, poplar, or willow. Over the centuries, these natural materials absorb and release moisture, accumulating grime, smoke, and various environmental pollutants. The challenge lies in removing these accretions without stripping away the wood's natural oils, altering its patina, or, worst of all, introducing too much moisture that could cause warping or rot. The craftsman begins by preparing a solution of distilled water with an infinitesimally small amount of a pH neutral, conservation-grade, surfactanta, gentle soap, almost imperceptible to the touch or smell. This isn't dish soap. It's a specialized cleaner designed to lift dirt without leaving harmful residues or reacting with the aged wood fibers. A few drops in a basin of water are often all that is needed. Solution is clear, almost like pure water, a testament to its mildness. Into this solution, a soft, lint-free cloth, perhaps a finely woven cotton or linen, is dipped. It is then wrung out with extreme prejudice until it is barely damp, almost dry to the touch. The craftsman prefers a cloth that feels cool and slightly textured, allowing for a gentle grip on the surface. Then, with slow, controlled movements, the cloth is drawn across a small section of the wood. The pressure applied is minimal, just enough to allow the barely moist cloth to pick up the ingrained dirt. As that cloth passes over the surface, a subtle transformation begins. The dull, uniform grime starts to lift, revealing the true grain of the wood underneath, sometimes a lighter, warmer tone, sometimes the deeper, richer hues that were once vibrant. The craftsman frequently inspects the cloth, noting the dark smears of accumulated dirt, and then turns it to a fresh section, or replaces it entirely. This process is painstaking, a series of tiny, repeated gestures across the shield's broad expanse. It is a slow, methodical dance, akin to developing a photograph in a dark room, where the image gradually emerges from the blankness. For particularly stubborn areas, perhaps where grime has built up in the deeper lines of the wood grain, or in the recess of a slight gouge, the craftsman might resort to a cotton swab dipped in the same barely damp solution. With the swab, the touch can be even more precise, targeting small pockets of dirt without disturbing the surrounding, more delicate areas. The swab turns gray or brown with the lifted filth, a satisfying visual affirmation of progress. Each tiny section is cleaned, then wiped immediately with a clean, dry cloth to absorb any residual moisture. The goal is to lift the dirt, not to saturate the wood. The craftsman's hand moves with the rhythm of the work, a steady, deliberate pace that honors the material's fragility. The air might fill with the faint earth scent of damp wood, a smell that speaks of ancient forests and forgotten rain. Moving from the wood, The craftsman's attention shifts to the shield's metal components. The central boss, often made of iron or steel, designental deflect blows. The metal rim that might bind the edges or the buckles and rivets of the various straps. These metal elements present their own unique challenges, primarily rust and corrosion, which not only mar the appearance but can actively degrade the metal itself. It's unlike the wood, where the goal is gentle cleaning with metal. A balance must be struck between removing harmful corrosion and preserving the historical patina. A completely shiny, new-looking metal boss on an ancient, weathered, shield-walled look, anachronistic, robbing the artifact of its visual history. The craftsman understands this intuitively. For loose rust or superficial corrosion, dry methods are often preferred initially. Specialized, very fine bristle bronze brush, softer thanstel but firm enough to dislodge light rust, might be employed. With gentle, circular motions, the craftsman works to lift the red dust of corrosion, watching as it flakes away, revealing the darker, more stable metal beneath. The sound is a faint metallic whisper, a soft abrading that demands a light touch. For more tenacious patches of rust or ingrained dirt on the metal, a slightly more robust approach is taken. Again, specialized conservation fluids are used, often a very dilute solution of deionized water with a chelating agent that binds to and helps lift iron oxides, but only under strict control. Applied with cotton swabs or very fine brushes, these solutions are allowed to dwell for only moments, being meticulously wiped away with clean, dry cloths. The process is one of repeated application and removal, never allowing the solution to sit and potentially react adversely with the metal. A craftsman might use tiny wooden picks, softer than the metal itself, to carefully scrape away hardened concretions of dirt or rust from crevices, ensuring no damage is inflicted on the underlying material. The touch is precise, almost surgical. Imagine the craftsman leaning close, a magnifying visor perhaps aiding their vision, as they meticulously clean around the base of a rivet or the decorative fluting of a boss. The goal is to stabilize the metal, to remove the active agents of decay, and to bring definition back to the form, allowing the underlying character of the metal to emerge. The subtle gleam that begins to return to the metal is not a modern polish, but the soft luster of centuries-old steel or iron, hinting at its original strength. Next come the leather components, the hand grip, arm straps, or possibly an arms arrangement on the back of the shield. Leather, being an organic material, is particularly susceptible to drying, cracking, and deterioration over time. It can also accumulate significant amounts of dirt, sweat, and oils from countless hands. The initial approach to leather is often dry cleaning, much like the wood. Soft brush is used to remove loose dust and surface grime. For hardened dirt, or areas where the leather has become stiff and encrusted, specialized conservation-grade leather soaps are used. These are typically very mild, non-alkaline, and designed to reintroduce a small amount of conditioning while cleaning. A small amount of the soap is applied to a clean, damp cloth again, barely moist and worked into a light lather. With incredibly gentle circular motions, craftsman massages the lather into the leather, paying close attention to the grain and any stitching. The dirt begins to lift and transfer to the cloth. As with the wood, the cloth is frequently rinsed and wrung out, or a fresh one is used. The scent of old leather, a rich, earthy aroma, might become more pronounced as itis gently rehydrated and cleaned. After cleaning, the leather is immediately wiped with a clean, dry cloth to remove any excess moisture or soap residue. This is crucial to prevent water damage or mold growth. The craftsman might then apply a very thin layer of a conservation-grade leather conditioner, specifically formulated for ancient leather, which slowly rehydrates the fibers, making them more pliable and less prone to cracking. This isn't about making the leather soft and supple like a new glove, but about stabilizing it, preserving its historical texture and integrity. The tactile sensation of the leather slowly returning to a more natural state, losing its brittle stiffness, is deeply satisfying. Finally, we arrive at the most delicate, often most challenging aspect of cleaning, the painted surfaces and heraldic designs. These are the visual soul of the shield, the vibrant stories told in pigment and line. However, over centuries, paint can become incredibly fragile, flaking, lifting, or becoming discolored by grime and environmental factors. Aggressive cleaning here would be catastrophic, potentially erasing the very history one seeks to preserve. For painted surfaces, the first rule is often minimal intervention. Dry cleaning is paramount. Soft brushes, like those used for cosmetics or fine art, are employed to gently dust away surface accretions. Sometimes a very fine, soft cosmetic sponge or a specially designed, non-abrasive conservation sponge is used with a feather-light touch to pick up superficial dirt. For areas where the paint is actively flaking or lifting, even these gentle methods might be too aggressive. In such cases, the craftsman might carefully consolidate the flaking paint before any cleaning, using a conservation adhesive to re-adhere it to the substrate, effectively stabilizing it. If any liquid cleaning is deemed absolutely necessary, and this is a decision made with immense caution and only after extensive testing on an inconspicuous area, it would involve tiny cotton swabs dipped in distilled water or a highly dilute pH-neutral solution. The swab is rolled, not dragged, across the surface, picking up dirt without rubbing. The amount of liquid is minuscule, designed to evaporate almost instantly. The craftsman is acutely aware that a single wrong move could permanently mar the shield's painted history. This process is so slow, so deliberate, that it can feel like a meditative practice in itself, each gentle stroke a prayer for preservation. The colors, once obscured, begin to reveal their faded but still poignant beauty. The reds might deepen slightly, the blues regain a hint of their original sky-like quality. The yellows a touch of their sunlit warmth. Throughout this entire cleaning process, the craftsman is in a constant state of observation. The air is monitored for humidity, the light for clarity, the shield itself for any subtle signs of distress. Every tool is cleaned after use, every cloth meticulously inspected. There is no haste, no shortcuts. The clock does not dictate the pace. The shield does. Once all the varied surfaces have been meticulously cleaned, the shield is left to air dry naturally in a controlled environment. No direct heat, no harsh sunlight. The air itself, with gentle circulation, is allowed to do its work, ensuring that every molecule of moisture has evaporated from the wood, leather, and any crevices. This fine aldering phase is as critical as the cleaning itself. Residual moisture is the enemy of long-term preservation. The craftsman might periodically check the shield, feeling its surfaces, ensuring a uniform dryness. The transformation at this stage is remarkable, yet subtle. The shield doesn't look new, rather it looks revealed. The layers of accumulated time have been gently peeled back, not erased. The wood grain is clearer, the metal has a more defined presence, the leather feels less brittle, and the painted elements, though still faded, offer a clearer glimpse of their original splendor. The craftsman steps back, observing the shield with a quiet satisfaction. It is no longer just an object covered in grime. It is an artifact that has begun to breathe again, its features sharpened, its story more legible. This thorough cleaning is more than just preparatory work for polishing. It is an essential act of conservation. It stabilizes the materials, removes harmful agents, and allows the true character of the shield to emerge from beneath the veil of neglect. It is a testament to patience, to respect for history, and to the understanding that true beauty often lies beneath the surface, waiting to be gently uncovered. The shield, now clean and ready, stands on the precipice of its next transformation, the art of polishing, where its true luster will begin to glow. The shield now rests, thoroughly cleaned, its surfaces breathing freely. No longer obscured by the layers of time's accumulation, it's been revealed, its form and underlying character brought to light, but it is yet to truly glow. This is where the art of polishing truly begins. It's a delicate dance between preservation and revelation, where the craftsman's touch transforms a clean artifact into a living testament to history. It is a process that requires not just skill, but an intimate understanding of each material, a deep respect for the object's past, and an almost meditative patience. Polishing a medieval shield is not about achieving a harsh artificial gleam that obliterates its age. It is about coaxing forth the innate luster of the wood, the subtle sheen of the metal, and the rich, resilient depth of the leather. It is a slow, methodical nourishment designed to protect and preserve, to highlight the inherent beauty that lies within the materials themselves. Rather than imposing a superficial brilliance, think of it less as a vigorous scrubbing and more as a gentle caress, bringing out the shield's true, quiet magnificence. The craftsman prepares his workspace with the same meticulous care applied to the cleaning process. The air is still, the light soft, ensuring no dust motes dance in the beams to mar the fresh surfaces. On a clean, lint-free cloth, spread across a stable work surface, a selection of specialized tools and materials awaits. These are not harsh industrial compounds, but often natural, sympathetic substances, many of which would have been recognized by the original makers and maintainers of such shields centuries ago. For the wooden elements, the choices often lean towards natural waxes and oils. Beeswax, prized for millennia, is a staple, known for its ability to both protect and impart a warm, soft glow. Often, it's combined with natural oils, such as linseed oil, which penetrates the wood to nourish it from within, preventing dryness and enhancing the richness of the grain. Some conservators might opt for modern museum-grade microcrystalline waxes, such as Renaissance wax, which offers exceptional protection and a clear, non-staining finish. Suitable for a multitude of materials, including wood, metal, and leather. The key is that they are non-abrasive and pH neutral, ensuring no damage to the aged material. For metal components, the shield boss, the rim, any decorative fittings, the approach is equally gentle. Harsh abrasives are strictly avoided, as these can strip away not just tarnish but also precious original material, or even any thin plating. Instead, fine polishing pastes made from substances like precipitated chalk, a very mild abrasive, are preferred. In historical contexts, one might even have seen pastes made from vinegar, flour, and salt for copper, or fine wood ashes, which would have offered a gentle abrasive quality. The goal is to remove only the very thin, outermost layer of oxidation or tarnish, allowing the metal's true character to emerge without erasing its venerable patina, that subtle, aged coloring that speaks volumes of its history. For the leather elements, be it the straps, the grip, or any leather covering on the shield face, natural oils and waxes are once again paramount. Animal fats like tallow, or specialized leather conditioners containing lanolin or beeswax, are traditionally used to restore suppleness and protect against cracking. These are carefully chosen to rehydrate the aged leather, imparting a soft, resilient feel and a gentle, subdued sheen rather than a glossy, artificial look. Neatsfoot oil, while effectively deeply penetrating and softening leather, is used with caution as it can significantly darken the material. The applicators are as important as the polishing agents themselves. Only the softest, most non-abrasive cloths are employed. Fine weave cotton or linen rags are traditional choices, offering a gentle yet effective surface for application and buffing. Modern conservation also frequently utilizes specialized microfiber cloths, known for their ability to trap dust and polish surfaces without scratching or leaving lint. These are clean, dry, and dedicated to their specific task, never cross-contaminating when different materials or stages of the process. With all materials and tools meticulously arranged, the craftsman begins. There is no hurried movement, only a slow, deliberate engagement with the artifact. The process often starts with the largest, most accessibilized faces, typically the wooden body of the shield. A small amount of the chosen wood wax or oil is taken onto a clean, soft cloth. The craftsman works in small sections, perhaps a square foot at a time. The cloth, imbued with the polishing agent, glides across the wood in gentle, overlapping circles. The pressure is light, just enough to distribute the product evenly and to begin working it into the wood grain. As the cloth moves, a faint, sweet aroma of beeswax or the earthy scent of linseed oil might subtly fill the air, a sensory connection to the natural origins of these materials. This initial application is about feeding the wood, allowing it to absorb the nourishing oils and waxes. The grain, already clearer from the cleaning, begins to deepen in color, its patterns becoming more pronounced and vibrant. It's not an immediate transformation, rather it's a slow, subtle unfolding. The craftsman watches closely, feeling the surface change beneath his fingertips, noting how the dryness gives way to a silky smoothness. he might pause, letting the product penetrate for a few moments, before returning to gently rub away any excess with a fresh, dry part of the cloth. This step is crucial, as any lingering residue can attract dust or become tacky over time. The wood, once dry and somewhat dull, now exhibits a profound inner glow, reflecting light with a quiet, warm luminescence. Next, the focus shifts to the metal components, the shield boss, the rim, and any decorative accents that may be present. These can be made of iron, bronze, or even precious metals, each requiring a tailored approach. For iron or steel elements, which might show remnants of light oxidation or a dullness, a minuscule amount of a mild polishing paste is applied to a fresh, lint-free cloth. Again, the motion is circular, gentle, and deliberate. The craftsman works from the center off, the metal boss outwards, or along the curve of the rim, carefully avoiding contact with any adjacent wood or painted areas. The process here is about subtle refinement. The aim is not a mirror finish, which would be anachronistic and potentially damning. Rather a clean, soft sheen that respects the metal's age and historical context. The faint, metallic whisper of cloth on aged iron fills the quiet space, a sound as old as the forging of Theshild itself. As he works, the metal begins to lose its dusty, flat appearance, taking on a deeper, more defined presence. It catches the light with a soft, diffused reflection, hinting at its original strength and purpose. The balance is critical. To remove only what obscures, while preserving the character and integrity of the original surface. Over-polishing is a common pitfall, and one the experienced craftsman meticulously avoids, for it can strip away the very essence of the artifact's age. Finally, attention turns to the leather elements. Leather, being an organic material, benefits immensely from careful rehydration. A small amount of leather conditioner or a natural balm, such as one made from beeswax and tallow, is gently massaged into the surface using soft fingers or a dedicated cloth.
Ow.
The leather, which might have felt stiff or dry, gradually softens, becoming more pliable and resilient under the craftsman's touch. The subtle friction of the rubbing generates a slight warmth, helping the oils penetrate deeply into the leather fibers. The scent of aged leather mingles faintly with the notes of the balm, a rich, earthy aroma. Special attention is given to areas that experience more wear, like the grip straps, where the hands would have repeatedly held the shield. Once the conditioner has been absorbed, any excess is gently wiped away, and the leather is buffed with a clean, soft cloth to impart a very subtle, natural sheen. This enhances its color and protects it, without making it look artificially glossy. Should the shield feature painted or gessoed surfaces, which many medieval shields did, often bearing intricate heraldic devices or decorative patterns, these areas are approached with the utmost caution. Unlike wood, metal, or leather, painted surfaces are extremely delicate. They are rarely subjected to abrasive polishing. Instead, the focus is on stabilization and protection. A very thin, almost imperceptible layer of a museum-grade protective wax, applied with an exceptionally soft brush or a barely dampened cloth, might be used. This creates a barrier against environmental pollutants and light abrasion, without altering the fragile pigments beneath. It is an act of gentle sealing, not shining, ensuring that the colors, however faded, are preserved for future generations. The craftsman's breath might even be held during this precise work, the air hushed around him. The process is not a single application, but often a layering of thin coats, particularly for the wood and metal. Each layer is applied, gently worked, and then allowed to set and dry for a period, sometimes hours. Sometimes overnight before the next is applied or the final buffing begins. This layering builds up a deep, protective luster rather than a superficial shine. It allows the materials to fully absorb the nourishing agents, creating a barrier that repels moisture and dust, helps to stabilize the artifact against environmental fluctuations. The light, as it falls upon the surface, seems to penetrate deeper, revealing a newfound richness and complexity. As the craftsman moves around the shield, section by section, there is a distinct rhythm to his work. The gentle hiss of cloth on wood, the faint whisper on metal, the soft give of leather beneath his touch. These are the sounds of careful attention, of patience, and of respect. His hands become extensions of his intent, each stroke imbued with purpose. The warmth from the friction, the subtly shifting textures, the evolving visual depth, these are the sensory rewards of this meticulous labor. He watches the light play across the freshly polished surfaces, noting how the shadows deepen and the highlights softly emerge. It is a slow revelation, an unhurried awakening of the shield's inherent beauty. In this quiet, focused engagement, the craftsman forms a profound connection with the artifact. He isn't merely polishing an object, he's engaging in a dialogue with history, with the hands that shaped it centuries ago. Each stroke is a form of active meditation, allowing him to observe every subtle nuance of the shield, the imperfections, the repairs, the unique patterns of wear that tell their own stories. He becomes intimately familiar with its contours, its weight, its balance. This isn't a factory process. It is a conversation between past and present, facilitated by the gentle act of polishing. The ultimate goal is not a dazzling modern sheen that would betray the shield's age and original purpose. Instead, it is the cultivation of a deep living glow. A glow that emanates from within the materials, reflecting their inherent qualities and history. The wood looks nourished and alive. The metal possesses a subtle, restrained brilliance that speaks of strength and resilience. And the leather feels supple, ready for service once again. It is the natural beauty of the materials, enhanced and protected, radiating a timeless elegance. This is the completion of the physical transformation. The shield, now clean, nourished, and glowing with an authentic luster, stands ready. It is no longer just a relic. It is an artifact that has been carefully brought back to a state of dignified readiness. Its presence sharpened, its story more vividly told. The polishing process has not only preserved its integrity, but has also elevated its aesthetic, preparing it for the next phase of its journey, the quiet, meditative cycle of observation and appreciation. Yet, for all the meticulous attention paid to the metal face, its subtle gleam, its refined surface, the true heart of many a medieval shield, its very soul often resides in the organic materials beneath. The sturdy wooden core, therobust leather straps, and the sometimes delicate leather trim that binds the edges or forms gripping handles. These are the components that speak most profoundly of the shield's direct interaction with human hands, with the elements, and with the passage of centuries. And these, perhaps more than the resilient metal, demand a particular, gentle vigilance. The patient care of wood and leather. To neglect these natural elements is to allow the shield to whisper less of its history, to compromise its very integrity over time. Wood, a living material, even in its dormancy, can dry, crack, warp, or become susceptible to the silent depredations of insects and rot. Leather, once supple and strong, can grow brittle, stiffen, tear, or succumb to mold and decay, losing its essential pliability. The goal here is not to make them appear new, but to halt their decline, to nourish them back to a state of robust health, and to restore their intrinsic warmth and flexibility. This chapter is a tender exploration of how we coax life back into these ancient fibers and grains, ensuring the shield remains a cohesive, living testament to its past. We begin with the wood, often the shield's very foundation. Its care is a nuanced dance, balancing the need for nourishment with the imperative to preserve its historical character. The first step is always a thorough, tactile assessment. Run your hands across the wooden surface, feeling for any raised grain, splinters, or areas where the wood feels excessively dry or brittle. Gently tap different sections. A healthy, dense wood will often yield a solid, satisfying thud, while a compromised area might echo with a hollow, almost fragile sound. Look closely. The grain patterns. Each swirl and line tells a unique story of the tree from which it came. Note any evidence of old repairs, patches, or areas where the original wood might have been compromised by time or trauma. These imperfections are not flaws. They are indelible marks of the shield's journey, and our care must respect and stabilize them. Cleaning the wood, unlike the metal, is a delicate operation where moisture is a foe, not a friend. Forget water. Our initial approach is entirely dry. A very soft bristled brush, perhaps a natural hair artist's brush, is perfect for gently dislodging dust and fine particulate matter from the wood grain and any crevices. For deeper, more stubborn grime, a low-pressure air compressor can be used with extreme caution and from a safe distance. allowing the gentle flow of air to lift away debris without abrading the surface. Should there be truly ingrained dirt that resists the Saudry methods, a cloth very slightly dampened with distilled water can be used, but only as a last resort and with immediate gentle drying afterwards. The essence here is minimal intervention, preserving the delicate patina that has accrued over centuries. Once clean, the wood is ready for nourishment. This isn't about applying a shiny veneer, it's about deep penetration, about restoring the natural oils that have evaporated over time. This vital step doesn't just improve appearance. It's fundamental to preserving the wood's structural integrity, preventing further cracking and enhancing its resilience. Among the most revered choices for this task is linseed oil. Raw linseed oil, derived from flax seeds, penetrates deeply and cures slowly, offering profound nourishment. Boiled linseed oil, while curing faster due to added dryers, is also an option, though some purists prefer the unadulterated raw form. The application is critical, always in very thin, almost imperceptible coats. Using a lint-free cloth, wipe a small amount onto the wood, allowing it to soak in for a few minutes. Then, and this is crucial, immediately wipe off any excess. Residual oil can become sticky, attract dust, and even create a dull film over time. Rags used with linseed oil must be disposed of with extreme caution, as they can spontaneously combust. Spread them out to dry completely, or immerse them in water before disposal. For a softer, more protective finish, blends off beeswax and mineral oil can be highly effective. Gently warming the mixture allows for easier application. Apply a thin layer with a soft cloth, working it into the grain. After allowing it to sit for a short period, buff the surface gently with a clean cloth. This creates a gentle, warm sheen that emanates from within the wood, rather than sitting as a superficial coating. It also offers a subtle layer of protection against minor environmental fluctuations. The frequency of such treatments is a matter of careful observation. Over-oiling can be as detrimental as under-oiling. The wood will tell you when it is thirsty. It will appear dull, dry, and feel rough to the touch. This isn't about a rigid schedule, but a sensitive response to the material's needs. Addressing specific issues within the wood often means preventative care. Minor cracks, for instance, can sometimes be stabilized through consistent, gentle oiling, allowing the wood to slowly rehydrate, swell slightly, subtly closing the fissures. Larger structural cracks, however, typically fall into the realm of professional conservation. Our focus in this care routine is on preventing further degradation and enhancing the inherent health of the wood. If there's any concern of boot pest damage, like small holes or tunnels, the shield should be isolated immediately, and expert advice sought. Basic care, however, helps prevent new infestations by maintaining the wood's vitality, making it less appealing to pests. After the nourishing treatments, a final gentle buffing with a clean, soft cloth is the concluding flourish. This action serves to remove any last vestiges of excess product and to coax out the wood's natural luster. It's not about achieving a glossy, modern shine, but about revealing the wood's inherent warmth, its intricate grain patterns, and the subtle resonance that speaks of its age and strength. The wood should feel nourished, alive, and carry a deep, quiet glow that is distinctly its own. With the wooden core attended to, our focus shifts to the leather, the vital straps, grips, and edge bindings that often define a shield's usability and reinforce its structure. Leather, a tanned hide, is annatural material that demands a different kind of tenderness. One focused on preserving its flexibility and preventing the dreaded brittleness and cracking that can render it useless. Our initial assessment of the leather is as crucial as it was for the wood. Run your fingers over the straps and handles, noting their texture. Does the leather feel stiff and dry, or is there still some pliability? Examine closely for any signs of flaking, fine cracks, or areas where the fibers appear to be deteriorating. Check the stitching, if present, for any fraying or weakness. Observe the variations in color, which might hint at past treatments or areas of wear, and pay attention to the scent. A healthy, well-preserved leather typically has a faint, earthy aroma, whereas a musty or acrid smell can indicate mold or decay. Cleaning leather requires a touch even lighter than with wood. For surface dust, a very soft bristled brush, or a dry lint-free cloth is usually sufficient. Should there be more stubborn grime, a cloth very slightly dampened with distilled water can be used. Wiping gently and immediately drying the area with another clean, soft cloth. The key is to avoid saturating the leather, as excess mows can promote mold growth and strip away natural oils. Saddle soap, while effective for modern, robust leather, should be approached with extreme caution, if at all, for ancient artifacts. It can be too harsh for aged, delicate leather, potentially removing irreplaceable patina or causing discoloration. If considering it, always test on a small, inconspicuous area first, and use it in the most diluted, sparing manner possible. Once clean, the leather is ready for conditioning. Says Wiru, replenish the natural oils that keep the fibers supple and prevent them from becoming brittle and prone to cracking. The aim is deep conditioning, not just a superficial sheen. Among the most effective conditioners is pure neatsfoot oil, derived from cattle bones. It is exceptional for restoring pliability to dry, stiff leather. Apply it with extreme restraint, using only tiny amounts on your fingertips or a cotton swab. Gently massage the oil into the leather, allowing it to slowly absorb. Neatsfoot oil will darken the leather, so this is another instance where testing on an unseen spot is vital. Allow ample time for the oil to penetrate fully between applications. Other beneficial options include lanolin-based conditioners. It's often mixed with other natural oils and waxes, which provide excellent nourishment and a protective barrier. Blends of beeswax and natural oils, similar to those used on wood, can also be beneficial. It's providing both conditioning and a subtle protective layer when applied sparingly and buffed. The application technique for leather conditioning is meditative in itself. Small amounts worked into the material with gentle circular motions. Patience is paramount. Never rush the process or try to force absorption by applying too much product at once. Oversaturating leer can make it greasy, attract dust, or even weaken its delicate aged fibers. The frequency of conditioning should be dictated by the leather's condition. It should only be done when the leather feels distinctly dry, stiff, or begins to show signs of cracking. Addressing specific issues in leather often means preventing further damage. Stiffness and brittleness can gradually be ameliorated through repeated, gentle conditioning over time, slowly coaxing flexibility back into the fibers. Significant cracks or tears, however, are difficult to repair with basic care and usually require the specialized skills of a conservation professional. Our aim is to prevent such damage from worsening by keeping the leather supple and strong, should mold or mildew appear. Isolate the shield and gently wipe the affected area with a cloth very lightly dampened with denatured alcohol or a mild antifungal solution. After conditioning, gently flexing the leather strap sand handles helps work the oils deep into the fibers, reinforcing their newfound pliability and preventing them from becoming rigid again. Finally, a thorough buffing with a clean, soft cloth removes any excess conditioner and reveals a gentle, natural sheen. The leather's hold feels supple, alive, and warm to the touch, no longer dry and brittle, but ready for its protective role. As with the metal, the care of wood and leather is not a hurried chore. It is an extension of that meditative cycle, a tactile engagement with the organic heart of the shield. Each stroke, each gentle rub of oil or wax, is a conversation with the material itself. You feel the wood absorbing the nourishment. The shield, now whole and vibrant in all its constituent parts, transitions from a mere relic to a living artifact, poised in dignified readiness. The care of wood and leather, as we have seen, is an extension of that meditative cycle, a tactile engagement with the organic heart of the shield. Each stroke, each gentle rub of oil or wax, is a conversation with the material itself. its age, its history, its very materiality demand a different kind of engagement. A patient reverence that teaches us invaluable lessons. Imagine, if you will, the gentle hum of silence in your workspace, perhaps punctuated only by the soft brush of a cloth against ancient wood, or the subtle whisper of a polishing compound working its magic on cold steel. This is not a task for loud music or distracting chatter. It is an invitation to quietude, a sanctuary from the ceaseless demands of the digital age. As your hands move, rhythmically, repeatedly, a subtle transformation begins to occur, not just in threshold but within you. The world outside begins to recede, its urgency fading into the background. It is a form of active meditation, where your mind is anchored to the physical process, allowing extraneous to gently drift away. You become acutely aware of each movement, each application, each buff. You observe the minute changes in the surface of the shield, as it slowly reveals its inherent beauty. A beauty long obscured by the passage of time and the accumulation of history. This slow uncovering is immensely rewarding, not unlike watching a time-lapse video of a flower blooming, but with the added dimension of your own direct participation. Consider the act of polishing the metal boss. Your cloth, infused with the finest abrasive compound, moves in small, overlapping circles. It is not about brute force, but consistent, gentle pressure. You feel the minute resistance, the faint grit of the compound, the subtle warmth developing in the steel. Your eyes are fixed on the expanding circle of reflectivity, watching as the dull, oxidized surface slowly yields to a nascent gleam. This seemingly simple action, repeated hundreds, perhaps thousands of times over the course of a polishing session, becomes a mantra. Its cool silkiness against your skin. As you spread it across the grain, you watch with fascination as the wood seems to drink it in, its dormant fibers awakening, its colors deepening, its natural patterns emerging with newfound clarity. Each rub is an act of nourishment, a silent promise of preservation. You feel the slight drag off the cloth, the subtle texture of the wood beneath it, the way the oil transforms the surface from dry and thirsty to rich and supple. This physical engagement grounds you, pulling your awareness entirely into the present moment, away from worries of the past or anxieties about the future. This cycle is also a powerful exercise in patience. We live in a world that often celebrates instant gratification, where results are expected to be delivered at the click of a button. The medieval shield, however, teaches us a different rhythm. It demands slowness, perseverance, and a deep understanding that true beauty and restoration are not rushed, but emerge from dedication over time. You cannot force the patina to reveal itself more quickly, nor can you compel the leather to soften instantaneous. Each material has its own inherent properties, its own timeline for absorbing care. Learning to respect this, to work with the material rather than against it, is a profound lesson in itself. In this mindful process, there is no room for haste or carelessness. A single hurried stroke, an impatient application, could undo hours of delicate work. This instills a sense of discipline, a requirement for deliberate action and meticulous attention to detail. This discipline, however, is not burdensome. It is liberating. Focusing so intently on each small step, you liberate yourself from the mental clutter that often plagues our minds. The sheer specificity of the task demands your complete presence, allowing no space for extraneous thoughts to intrude. It is a purposeful engagement that leaves you feeling centered and calm, rather than drained. The meditative cycle also fosters a unique connection to history. As you handle the shield, you are not merely touching an old object, you're touching a tangible link to a distant past. You might find yourself contemplating the hands that crafted it, the carpenter who planed the wood, the smith who forged the iron boss, the leather worker who cut and stitched the straps. You might imagine the warrior once bore it, the battles it witnessed, the stories it could tell. This connection transcends time, making you a temporary guardian of its legacy. Your slow, deliberate work becomes an act of respect, a silent conversation with generations long past, an acknowledgement of the enduring spirit of human endeavor. The sensory richness of the process further deepens this experience. The faint metallic temps that might linger in the air as you polish the steel, the earthy, comforting aroma of natural oils soaking into ancient wood, the soft, almost imperceptible sound of your breath in the quiet room. These subtle details, often overlooked in the hurried pace of daily life, become acutely present and meaningful. They enhance the immersive quality of the task, transforming it from a chore into a deeply felt multi-sensory journey. As the hours pass in this quiet dedication, you begin to appreciate the true meaning of craft, not just as a skill, but as an expression of careened intention. Every mark you make, every surface you refine, contributes to the shield's renewed vitality. It's a continuous feedback loop. You apply pressure, you observe the change, you adjust your technique, and the shield responds. This constant interaction builds a profound sense of connection, almost as if the shield itself is communicating with you, revealing its needs and its inherent character. This deep engagement also fosters a unique kind of contentment. There is a deep satisfaction in seeing tangible progress, in witnessing something old and neglected slowly regain its dignity and purpose. It is a primal satisfaction, echoing the quiet joy of a farmer tilling the soil or a potter shaping clay. You are not just preserving an object. You are participating in an act of resurrection, breathing new life into a piece of history. This satisfaction is not fleeting. It is enduring, a quiet sense of accomplishment that permeates your being long after you've set the shield aside. The meditative cycle, therefore, is not merely a fancy term for polishing slowly. It is a deliberate choice to engage with the world in a more profound, more present way. It is an antidote to the noise and distraction of modern existence. It reminds us that value is often found not in speed, but in dedication, not in accumulation, but in preservation, and not in instant results, but in the unfolding beauty of a patient process. It teaches us to slow down, to observe, to listen to the subtle whisper-soft time, and to find deep meaning in the meticulous care of something truly old and profoundly beautiful. Ultimately, the goal of this meditative cycle extends beyond the mere physical transformation of the shield. It is about fostering a deeper appreciation for the object itself, understanding its journey through time, and recognizing its inherent worth. When you spend hours immersed in its care, the shield ceases to be an anonymous artifact. It becomes a unique entity, imbued with a renewed spirit, a silent testament to the hands that made it, the conflicts it endured, and the dedicated attention that now returns it to its former glory. This is the true power of the meditative cycle. It transforms not only the object, but also the one who engages in its devoted care. The shield, now vibrant and alive, stands ready, not for battle, but for silent contemplation, the beacon of enduring history and the profound beauty that emerges from patient, dedicated hands, completion and readiness. And so, we arrive at the culmination of our journey, the final, shimmering moment when the slow dance of preservation concludes and the medieval shield stands complete, ready, not ready for the clash of swords or the din of battle. Fordo's days are long past, but ready in a different, perhaps even more profound sense. This readiness is a quiet triumph, a silent testament to patience and dedicated care. It is a readiness for contemplation, for appreciation, for simply being. As you step back, allowing the last rays of sunlight to dance across its surface, a palpable shift occurs. The shield, which for so long was merely an object in need of attention, now radiates a quiet authority. Its presence is no longer one of silent decay, but a vibrant, reawakened life. The metal, once dulled by centuries of dust and neglect, now holds a deep, rich luster. It doesn't glare with the harshness of a new piece, but instead possesses a soft, burnished glow, a patina of age that has been respectfully enhanced, not erased. Each ripple and hammer mark, once obscured, now catches the light with a subtle elegance. speaking volumes of the hands that first shaped it and the many years it has endured. The edges sharpened not for warfare, but for definition, trace the shield's form with an almost sculptural precision. Run your fingertips across its surface, and you will discover a texture transformed. The initial grittiness, the telltale sign of forgotten time, has been replaced by an exquisite smoothness. The metal, under your careful touch, feels cool and solid, yet strangely alive, as if the very act of polishing has imbued it with a newfound warmth. There's a subtle resistance as your hand glides across the surface, a testament to the myriad microscopic layers of wax and oil that have settled into its very pores, protecting it, nourishing it, and sealing its newfound dignity. This tactile sensation is deeply satisfying, a confirmation of every deliberate stroke, every patient rub. It is the language of restoration, spoken not in words, but in the eloquent silence of touch. And then there are the wood and leather elements, equally transformed, equally expressive. The grain of the wood, perhaps oak or elm, now stands out in exquisite relief, its natural patterns accentuated by the gentle oils that have fed its thirsty fibers. The colors have deepened, richer and more resonant, revealing hidden hues that only time and careful attention could coax forth. You might notice the faint, almost imperceptible scent of wood and leather, a subtle aroma that grounds the object, connecting it to the earth and the animals from which it sprang. The leather straps, once stiff and brittle, now possess a supple resilience. They have been cleaned, conditioned, and worked with gentle hands, their original stitching, perhaps centuries old, now highlighted against the softened hide. They feel robust, yet yielding, capable of fulfilling their original purpose, even if that purpose is now purely symbolic. These elements, often overlooked, are vital to the shield's completeness, providing a textural counterpoint to the metal and grounding it in the natural world from which its components were drawn. This sense of completeness extends beyond the purely aesthetic. There is a deep, quiet resonance emanating from the shield. It feels anchored, settled, entirely at peace. It has shed the burden of its neglect, emerging lighter, unburdened. It is no longer a silent plea for attention, but a confident declaration of its own enduring worth. It breathes, not with lungs, but with the very air it now graces, absorbing the light, reflecting the world around it, and holding within its polished surfaces the echo of its long and storied past. The tiny imperfections, the battle scars, the nicks and dents that speak of its active life are still present. They have not been erased, for that would be to erase its very history. Instead, they have been honored, framed by the careful restoration, making them not flaws, but dignified badges of endurance. This is the true readiness of the shield. It is ready to tell its story. Before it whispered of decay, now it speaks with a clear, resonant voice. It tells of the forests where its wood grew, the mines where its ore was forged, the workshops where skilled hands hammered and shaped. It speaks of the knights or foot soldiers who carried it, of the journeys it undertook, the triumphs it witnessed, and perhaps the defeats it endured. It carries the weight of history. But now it carries it lightly, elegantly, with a quiet pride. It is a tangible link to a world long past, a portal through time, made accessible and intimate by the dedicated work of your own hands. The satisfaction of this moment is profound and multi-layered. Itis, the satisfaction of a task well done, of promises kept to an artifact that could not speak for itself. It is the quiet joy of seeing something beautiful emerge from something neglected. But more than that, it is the satisfaction of having participated in a dialogue with time. You have listened to the shield's silent pleas, understood its needs, and responded with patience and precision. In doing so, you have not only preserved an object, but you have also deepened your own understanding of craftsmanship, history, and the enduring value of meticulous care. For the one who has engaged in this meditative cycle, the completion of the shield marks not an end, but a transformation. You walk away not just with a beautifully restored artifact, but with a remwed sense of connection to the past, a heightened appreciation for the subtle nuances of material and form, and perhaps a deeper capacity for patience and focused attention in your own life. The discipline of the process, the quiet contemplation, steady rhythm off work, These elements leave an indelible mark, shaping not just the shield, but also the self. The lessons learned in the slow polishing of metal and the gentle conditioning of wood are applicable far beyond the workshop. They seep into the fabric of daily existence, encouraging a more thoughtful, more deliberate approach to all tasks. The shield, now vibrant and alive, stands ready. It might find its place in a collection, a museum, or a quiet corner of your own home. Wherever it rests, it will serve as a beacon, a focal point for reflection. It is a silent reminder that beauty can be rediscovered, that history can be held in our hands, and that the most profound transformations often occur not through grand gestures, but through the accumulation of small, deliberate acts of care. It is a testament to the belief that every object, no matter how old or seemingly insignificant, carries a story worth preserving, a dignity worth upholding, and a quiet beauty waiting to be revealed through the patient, dedicated hands of those who truly see. This, then, is the enduring legacy of the meditative cycle. Not just a polished shield, but a living connection to the past. A deepened appreciation for the present, and a quiet inspiration for the future. The shield, now vibrant and alive, stands ready. It might find its place in a collection, a museum, or a quiet corner of your own home. Wherever it rests, it will serve as a beacon, a focal point for reflection. It is a silent reminder that beauty can be rediscovered, that history can be held in our hands, and that the most profound transformations often occur not through grand gestures, but through the accumulation of small, deliberate acts of care. It is a testament to the belief that every object, no matter how old or seemingly insignificant, carries a story worth preserving, a dignity worth upholding, and a quiet beauty waiting to be revealed through the patient, dedicated hands of those who truly see. This, then, is the enduring legacy of the meditative cycle. Not just a polished shield, but a living connection to the past, a deepened appreciation for the present, and a quiet inspiration for the future. And as the last trace of polish is wiped away, as the sheen of the metal settles into a soft, inviting glow, there is a profound stillness that descends. It is the peace that comes from completion, from a task meticulously done, from the quiet communion between hands and history. The scent of linseed oil and old wood lingers in the air, a subtle perfume of purpose. The light once dancing on imperfections now flows smoothly across a surface reborn, reflecting the muted colors of the room. This quiet work, this patient, repetitive motion, has not merely restored an object, it has restored a sense of balance, a rhythm to the breath, a clarity to the mind. For the armorer, whose life is a tapestry woven from countless such acts, this isn't an extraordinary event, but the very essence of their days. It is in these moments of focused care that time seems to stretch and soften, where the clamor of the world recedes and only the steady whisper of work remains. Each polished surface, each repaired strap, each piece of wood brought back to life, adds another layer to their understanding of durability, of beauty, and of the silent stories held within the very fabric of existence. It is a wisdom earned, not through grand pronouncements, but through the patient, honest labor of hands that have known the grain of wood and the chill of metal. And in doing so, they have not just preserved the tools of an age, but also the enduring quiet art of presence. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the quiet corners of history. If this story has brought you a moment of peace, I invite you to subscribe to Whisper Vale for more forgotten tales. Perhaps find another story to lose yourself in right here.